July 19, 1945. The Pacific War is nearing its end, but danger still lurks at every shore. Far north, near the rugged coastline of Karafuto, a Japanese supply train winds along the rails, carrying troops, ammunition, and equipment that could kill American soldiers if it reaches its destination. On the horizon, a shadow moves beneath the waves. The USS Barb, a sleek, deadly submarine, glides silently through the water. At her helm, 31-year-old Commander Eugene Fluckey presses his eye against the periscope. 5 patrols behind him, 17 enemy ships sunk, and now a target unlike any other. Fluckey knows the train represents more than just steel and cargo. It is a lifeline for Japanese forces preparing to resist an American invasion. If he doesn't act, countless lives will be lost. But destroying a moving train from a submarine? That's never been done before. Not by anyone. He studies the coastline. He watches the train. He plans. Every second counts. Every decision is life or death. And in just a few hours, history will be made. The USS Barb wasn't just any submarine. Displacing 2,400 tons submerged and carrying 80 men, she was a powerhouse of the Pacific Fleet, decorated, feared, and unmatched. For presidential unit citations, 8 battle stars, a Navy unit commendation, but awards alone didn't make Barb deadly. It was her captain, Eugene Fluckey, 31, had already received the Medal of Honor for an audacious attack in Nam Quan Harbor, China. He took Barb into water so shallow, the submarine couldn't even dive, dodging minefields and patrolling destroyers while sinking 8 Japanese ships without losing a single man. Now, with Japanese shipping almost gone from the Pacific, Fluckey faced a new problem: no targets left at sea. He approached Navy engineers with an unusual request. Rockets. Mounted on Barb's forward deck, the Mark 51 rocket launcher gave the submarine a new kind of reach: shore bombardment. By June 20th, 1945, Barb was patrolling north of Hokkaido. For the first time in history, a submarine could fire rockets at land targets, striking factories and military installations with impunity. But Fluckey had his eyes on something even more daring: a moving train along the Japanese coastline. Destroying it would require more than rockets. It would require brilliance, courage, and a plan no one had ever tried before. Fluckey watched the coastal railroad for 3 days straight. Trains ran north and south, packed with troops and supplies that could stop an American invasion in its tracks. Destroying a moving train seemed impossible. Barb could shell the tracks, but the Japanese would repair them within hours. Torpedoes were useless. Rockets couldn't hit a moving target. The deck gun couldn't track the train through coastal terrain. Fluckey needed a new kind of solution, something no submarine had ever attempted. He turned to his crew. 8 men would volunteer for a mission that was essentially a ground operation on enemy Japanese soil, behind lines that meant instant execution if they were caught. Criteria were strict: only unmarried men, strong swimmers, preferably former scouts, and a mix of skills: engineers, electricians, and seasoned sailors. Every man aboard raised his hand. The team began preparing. Steel shovels improvised from the submarine's engine room, waterproof gear, survival packs, stakes to slow guard dogs, and a pickle jar containing a 55-pound explosive with a micro switch. The heart of the plan. The mission wasn't just dangerous. It was unprecedented. The first Americans would set foot on Japan's home islands since the war began, carrying explosives in darkness, paddling silently through surf, and planning a device that could derail a train. Fluckey waited for the right night. Clouds had to hide the moon. Any clear sky, and the submarine would be visible from miles away. Timing, stealth, precision, everything had to be perfect. At 2,300 hours on July 22nd, Barb crept toward the Karafuto coastline. Cloud cover hid the moon. The sea was calm, and the 8 men quietly prepared on deck. 2 rubber rafts were lowered. Saunders and Walker took the lead, carrying Hatfield and Sever. The second raft held Nolan, Klingelsmith, Richard, and Marcus. Paddle in hand, they slipped silently into the black water. The distance to shore, 950 yards. Every stroke had to be careful. No noise, no wake, no light. One mistake, and Japanese patrols could spot them. The team moved like shadows, pushing through surf, occasionally dipping heads to avoid moonlight piercing the clouds. Behind them, Barb blended into the black ocean, a silent guardian waiting for their return. 25 minutes later, they reached the beach. Dragging the rafts above the high tide line, they camouflaged them with driftwood and rocks. Nolan and Richard stayed to guard, keeping the escape route open. The remaining 6 men moved inland. Every step on enemy soil increased the risk. Grass concealed uneven terrain. A single wrong move could give them away. These men were the first Americans to set foot on Japan's home islands since the start of the war. Flucky's plan. The men would plant the explosive under a section of track where trains ran fastest. The goal was maximum disruption, maximum psychological impact, and absolute surprise. The sound came first, a low vibration in the ground, barely noticeable at first, then stronger with every second. The railroad was close. The 6 men reached the tracks just after midnight. Steel rails cut to the landscape like a scar, stretching into darkness in both directions. No guards in sight, no lights, just silence and the ticking of time. They worked fast. 2 men kept watch while the others dug beneath the wooden sleepers, hands shaking not from fear, but from urgency. The soil was damp and heavy. Every scrape of metal against stone sounded deafening in their ears. After several minutes, the hole was deep enough. Carefully, they lowered the explosive charge, sealing it beneath the rail. The device was simple but brilliant, a pressure-activated switch that would trigger the moment a train passed overhead. No timers, no second chances. If the charge failed, there would be no explosion. If it worked, the train would never make it past this point. The men covered the hole, smoothing the dirt, leaving no trace. To anyone passing by, the track looked untouched, normal, safe. In the distance, a faint mechanical hum drifted through the night air. A train engine, growing louder. The Americans retreated into the darkness, hearts pounding, breaths shallow. They had done everything they could. Now, all that remained was to wait. The sound of the train grew louder with every second. Metal wheels grinding against steel rails. A steady rhythm, calm and confident, unaware of what waited ahead. Hidden in the darkness, the 6 men lay flat against the earth. No one spoke. No one moved. Every breath felt too loud. This was the point of no return. The locomotive burst into view, its silhouette cutting through the night. Boxcars followed, one after another, packed tight. The train rolled directly over the hidden charge. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the earth erupted beneath the tracks. The rails twisted violently upward, lifting the front of the train off the ground. Cars slammed into each other, metal screaming as the force ripped through the convoy. The locomotive derailed, its momentum carrying destruction down the line. The explosion echoed across the countryside. Birds scattered into the sky. Somewhere in the distance, alarms would soon sound. The Americans didn't stay to watch. The mission wasn't about destruction. It was about escape. Within seconds, they were already moving, retreating through darkness, racing back toward the beach before Japanese patrols could respond. Behind them, the railroad lay broken. The supply line was gone. And for the first time in the war, the Japanese homeland had been struck by Allied boots on the ground. The 6 men sprinted to the high grass, their hearts hammering in rhythm with the thunder of the exploding train. Every shadow could hide an enemy soldier. Every sound could betray them. The first obstacle came almost immediately, a shallow drainage ditch. Water splashed over their boots as they scrambled across, careful not to slow down. Behind them, the glow of the fire lit the night sky, a haunting reminder of the chaos they had unleashed. They reached the edge of the sand where the rafts waited. Nolan and Richard were keeping watch, eyes scanning for patrols, ready to signal the submarine if danger approached. No one spoke. Communication was silent. Every man knew the stakes. One mistake, one misstep, and the night would end in capture or worse. Finally, the team reached the rafts. Hands grabbed the edges, pulling the exhausted men aboard. Paddles hit the water. Each stroke counted. They had less than 20 minutes to reach USS Barr before Japanese forces could respond. From offshore, Flucky watched through the periscope. The fire from the wrecked train lit up the coastline, but he kept the submarine steady. Timing was everything. One moment too early or too late, and the men in the rafts would be stranded. The rafts cut through the water. The men paddled with every ounce of strength left in their bodies, muscles screaming, lungs burning. Behind them, the train smoldered, a signal of both success and imminent danger. The rafts were now only 400 yards from USS Barb. Every second dragged like an eternity. The distant rumble of a train still echoed along the coastline, mixing with the occasional shout of startled Japanese soldiers rushing to investigate the explosion. Flucky made the split-second decision. Barb would maintain position on the surface, low in the water, to reduce visibility but allow the shore party to reach her safely. Every man on deck held their breath, eyes scanning the black horizon. Faster, Flucky shouted through a megaphone, his voice cutting through the darkness. The paddles dug deep, slicing the water. The raft surged forward, adrenaline overpowering exhaustion. Just 200 yards to go. The men could see the submarine's dark hull looming ahead. The rafts bobbed violently in the waves, but there was no room for error. A single overturned boat could spell disaster. Sever and Walker signaled the approach, guiding the raft through the final stretch. Saunders was last, ensuring the explosive device was secure and hadn't shifted during the perilous journey. Finally, at 0146, the men reached Barb. Hands grabbed them from the sides of the rafts. One by one, they climbed aboard, dripping wet, muscles trembling. The rubber boats were cut loose, left adrift in the moonless night, never to be recovered. Barb immediately started moving, turning toward deeper waters. Flucky's heart pounded, but he allowed himself a fleeting sense of relief. The shore party had completed the mission, and now it was up to the sea to conceal them from the Japanese search efforts. At 0147, the northbound train reached the section of track where Hatfield had buried the explosive device. The locomotive's massive wheels rolled over the micro switch, completing the circuit. A deafening explosion erupted instantly beneath the lead locomotive. Steel, wood, and fire erupted into the night sky. The boiler split apart, sending a torrent of superheated steam and metal fragments flying hundreds of feet. The following freight cars piled into the wreckage, splintering, jackknifing, and colliding in a chaotic cascade. Fires ignited along the embankment. Secondary explosions from ammunition in the train adding to the chaos. The crew of USS Barb watched from the surface, awestruck. The mission had succeeded beyond expectation. For the first and only time in history, a submarine had destroyed a train on enemy soil. Japanese searchlights began sweeping the waters, desperately searching for the mysterious attacker. Barb was already moving, her dark hull blending into the night. Flucky adjusted course and prepared for emergency dive. Within minutes, the submarine slipped beneath the surface, disappearing into darkness as the Japanese scrambled along the coast. The psychological impact was immediate. The Japanese military realized that even their inland supply lines were vulnerable. Barb had struck fear into the enemy, demonstrating a new form of naval power. A submarine capable of launching rockets, shelling shore targets, and sending men onto enemy soil. The mission had been audacious, dangerous, and unprecedented. Yet, every man aboard had survived. 0 casualties, 0 injuries. The only successful Allied ground operation on Japanese home island soil during the entire Pacific War had been executed flawlessly. After the mission, Barr continued her final patrol, launching rockets at coastal targets, shelling military installations, and evading Japanese aircraft. By August 2nd, 1945, she returned to Midway Island, completing her 12th and final war patrol. Eugene Flucky's achievements were extraordinary. A Medal of Honor, 4 Navy Crosses, 8 battle stars, and a unique distinction of commanding the only submarine to destroy a train on enemy soil. But what he valued most was the survival of every man under his command. 0 casualties in 5 dangerous war patrols. USS Barb herself had a post-war life. Decommissioned, modernized, loaned to Italy, and eventually scrapped. Only her battle flag survived, proudly displaying the 17 ships sunk, the rocket and gun symbols, and at the bottom, the train, a testament to the daring raid on Japanese soil. Flucky went on to a distinguished Navy career, rising to Rear Admiral, serving in intelligence, and later dedicating his retirement to humanitarian work. The crew returned civilian life quietly, rarely speaking of the mission, but their actions reshaped submarine warfare forever. The story of USS Barb and the train attack is more than a tale of military daring. It's a testament to ingenuity, courage, and leadership, and to the men who risked everything to strike where the enemy least expected. A submarine didn't just sink ships that summer 1945. It rewrote the rules of war. If this story amazed you, hit that like button, subscribe, and help share these incredible forgotten chapters of history with the world.